Hello everybody, James here, and it's Ask Dutch Anything, episode 46. We're going to do the quick version of the plugs today, because there are two books floating in front of Dutch Mantell's head. We might as well do the books first. Dutch has two books, Tales from a Dirt Road and World According to Dutch. You can get them on sign from Amazon, links are in the description. Or if you want them signed, you go to Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's at gmail.com and you make your request there for shipping and how many things you want to buy. Diplomas are also available, as are hats as well. I have two books. Oh, there's a diploma, in fact. Michael Porter. There you go, there's yours. Another thing is I have two books as well, one on Owen Hart and one on The Rock. Fine biographies on them both, written by yours truly. Links are in the description and available on Amazon. Next is, please, if you want to support the show, buy a t-shirt. I'm wearing one right now, Dutch Mantell, and it's quite July 4th appropriate. There's the red, white, and blue on there as well.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, I like that one as well. I've worn it quite a few times. And what else have we got? Facebook, Storytime with Dutch Mantell Facebook. Please join us on there. And of course, Stevie Richards Show, brand new out every single Friday. The second episode should have been out this past Friday as this is broadcast. We hope you joined in. We hope you subscribed and enjoyed it.
What's the name of
The Stevie Richards Show.
Stevie Richards.
Well, painful coming up with that, I tell you.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, you should do as well. It's creeping up very, very nicely as well, may I say. And the most important thing as well for this episode is questionsfordutch@gmail.com if you want to submit your question to the show for future consideration. And first off, we had a huge influx of questions.
I think the last down Storytime with Dutch was actually one of our best ones.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think this is going to be one of our best Ask Dutch Anythings as well, because I wanted to say, first off, for whatever reason, we just had far more questions than usual, and we had dozens and dozens and dozens in. Not that we don't get dozens every single week anyway, but huge amounts we got in this week. And to be honest, the questions we got in, the standard of them are getting better every week as well, so it's really tough to pick which ones to use.
So our IQ of our subscribers and our listeners is going up.
Well, apparently so.
Thank you.
Apparently so. We've got loads of backed up questions as well. So if it doesn't appear in an episode in the near future, don't fret completely, because I'm going to be away for on paternity leave, basically. I'm going to be away in September for a couple of weeks. We're going to do some stuff in advance. So some of those questions are going to make it into there as well. So if it isn't answered this week or next week, hey, it might be answered in 2 months' time. So watch out for those as well. And the first question, yes.
What am I missing this week?
You were missing it last week. You've been touting for free cigars on the show.
They're coming.
Oh, someone offered you free cigars?
Oh, yeah. 3 fans.
Jeez.
So, but they haven't got here yet. They won't get here today, because today is the 4th of July as we record this, and it will play back Tuesday. But it's not here yet. And I would like to thank the gentleman who contacted me about sending me some free cigars. See, the key to that is free. And when it's free, you can't lose.
You're just cap in hand, aren't you?
Yes.
Like this is virtual panhandling.
Now, I don't know if it's virtual panhandling, but see, they gave out of the goodness of their own hearts. They did. And I appreciate that, guys. I really do.
I don't want to do that, because then I have to give out my address.
Hey, you keep on. I'm gonna get you sued. Our lawyer, Mr. Burbrower, you'll be getting papers from him soon.
Yeah, he bought a hat from you, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yes,
he certainly did. Actually, he bought the first hat ever, and I signed it. But since I went in the hospital in December, it was delayed. So in lieu of his patience and suffering, I sent him 2 hats,
yeah.
2 University of Dutch. Here we go. Where's my hat at?
It was on your head.
I know, but I can't take it off unless I take this.
Well, why don't you just do like a 180 in your chair?
Nope, there it is.
No, forget it. Okay, well, you've got a hat on your head and you can buy one anyway. Right, we're going to get to the first question. This is going to involve a different kind of hat that I've seen you wear from time to time with Clemson. So Todd B has written in from Columbus, Ohio, and he says, hello, James and Dutch. I've heard Dutch say several times he's a big Clemson football fan. With the season approaching quickly, how do you like their chances of making the expanded 12-team playoff? How do you think Dabo or Dabo? Sweeney.
Dabo.
Dabo Sweeney's handling the current landscape that includes NIL and the transfer portal. There's loads of different stuff here that I don't understand. But what do you think of Clemson's chances this year?
Anyway, he's from Ohio. Well, I hate Ohio State. Up till the last couple of years, Ohio State had never beaten Clemson. Never. Of course, they didn't play that much. But they beat them in the last couple of years. So, but I don't think Clemson has a chance of taking the national title. Even with a 12-team playoff, I think they'll get to the 12-team playoff. So you don't know what I'm talking about.
I know what playoffs
James.
are.
I know, but you don't know the format. Used to be just 4 teams. They'd play 2 games and then the final game. But now it's 12 teams, and I think they play an extra game. Except the 4 seeds, the top 4, they don't play in the to get down. And it's screwed up. But I don't think that Clemson they might make the 12. I don't think they'll make the championship game. I just don't. And you know what I base that on? Their
decades of previous experience.
No, they've won the national title 3 times.
When?
They won it twice within the last 8 years, I think.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but I don't. And why I think Clemson screwed up. Dabo doesn't play the portal like he should. Hey, the portal's there, and he said, "No, I don't want to." This is stupid. It may get him run off. I don't know if it get him run off by paying him too much money. But he says, if you come to Clemson, you come in for the education, and you come for this, and you come for that. Well, yeah, after you deal with football, you better pick those players who go in the portal because they want another chance, and they're all good, talented athletes. He don't want to play the portal. So if you don't want to play, you live by it, you die by it. So I think he's gonna not. He wants to develop his own players at Clemson. I don't agree with that. I agree that if a great player comes along and you can use him, get him.
Next question into the wrestling now. Eric says, do you think current wrestlers should keep kayfabe alive by staying more in character when in public and online? I'm referring to the Wyatt Six. They debuted on Raw a few weeks ago, and then a day later they were taking pictures with fans at a restaurant. Mark Henry commented on it and was against this. What is your opinion, Dutch? Thanks as always.
Those bastards. Give them a gimmick and they're trying to kill it right off the bat. No, I don't think they should keep it. The kayfabe era is gone. I mean, they're settling out now, and everybody knows what's going on. They're interested. It's a show. It's a show. So when you see them, you may know who they are. But do people actually think they're walking around and apparitions are appearing to them out of the blue, and all of a sudden they're shooting damn Chad Gable in the head with a gun? And come on. No, I don't think it would be better off. And I used to think, boy, when everybody really kind of understands it, it'll kill it. Hell, it's helped it. So no, I don't think everybody should run around and stay in character 24 hours a day. Can't do it.
Have you ever gotten in trouble for breaking kayfabe in the early days, like riding with an opponent or something like that? Signing autographs?
No, because the booker, he wanted to say something about it and said I shouldn't do it, so I just got it and just beat the shit out of it. I said, hey, you don't tell me what to do, buddy. No, not really, because you had to do it in Puerto Rico because, I mean, the place is small. So you had to do it there, and they would say something to you if you were seen with an opponent or somebody you'd done an angle with. So, but I never got in. I don't think you could. We have actually on this show, we have actually come in and dissected it, but it doesn't hurt WWE. They just keep on rolling.
Next question. John says, hello, James and Dutch. I hope all is well with both of you. I think with me. Is it with you?
Yes, yes.
Good. What did Dutch think of WCW in the early 1990s? I heard Eric Bischoff in the Who Killed WCW series describe it as not even third tier back then. I asked because as a kid at the time, WCW was my introduction to the world of wrestling. I used to look forward to seeing it each Saturday afternoon on ITV, so English boy. British. I thought it was great. Maybe I am looking at it with nostalgia. So in the 1990s WW run, was it just that crappy to work the territory? Because we've talked about how many dates you had to work in 1990, 1991. We've talked about the Jim Herd thing with you having to deal with him. But really, what was it just like working there as far as conditions, ticket sales, that kind of thing?
Brutal. It really was. It was like a never-ending road trip, is what it was. And you'd go to these... I mean, you were so busy traveling and checking into hotels and eating out and going to the building and putting your stuff on and going to the ring, coming back and taking a shower and driving to the next town, getting in a room, starting it all over again. So after a while, you just completely burn out. And people wonder, why did those guys get on drugs? Why are they alcoholics? Well, hell, we had to damn do something. They were taking pills and they were drinking to get through the day, to get through the tour. And yeah, it was really physically exhausting because you had to go out there every night. I guess usually the same guy that you'll wrestle all week long. And
so it kills your creativity as well in that sense.
Well, yeah, because they wouldn't change anything up. If you started a tour with a guy, say I started the tour and I'm working Brad Armstrong, well, the tour would continue at least 5 days. So I had him 5 days. Then you go to TV for 2 days or whatever it was. And then you're back on the road. So, but you do get your match down with Brad Armstrong pretty good. And then they wouldn't even put you on TV. So you already got the match worked out and they wouldn't even put you on TV. Yeah, it was an exhausting ordeal. Let me just say that. And not fun either.
Was there any like communication with the office? I mean, who would you go and talk to talk
Nobody.
to someone higher up?
Nobody.
These are your dates. Good riddance.
Well, you could call Jim Herd, but he'd say, "What are you doing calling me? Why don't you call somebody else or call this?" And you had road agents, and they kind of just delivered what they wanted you to do. They wouldn't come up. I mean, if you go to TV, it's different. Now they want a certain thing done at a certain time. And the house shows, it didn't matter. They say, same as usual, go about 10, 12 minutes. And, either I go over or he goes over. And then they walk. That's the last communication you have with anybody from the official office. It's left to you to work the match out. So you go out there and you have to entertain yourself while you're in the ring. So we would do that, but it wasn't easy.
Did WCW at the time draw anywhere? Like, I think it got even worse. Like by '93, to the point in '94 they just cancelled all the house shows entirely. But I mean, how few people were you wrestling in front of at times?
Oh, you go to a big, say, 5,000 seat arena. You might have 1,000 people in there, 1,500. It mostly looked like we had an old saying in wrestling: you could fire off a shotgun in a place and not hit anybody. And sometimes we'd have the occasional good house, which was fun. So, but working 7 days a week without a day off, I mean, is not good for morale. It's really not. It wasn't good for mine.
And was it Center Stage you were still working at that time? WCW?
Do TV, yes.
Yeah.
Center Stage. Center Stage. Yep, sure was.
Was it as big a dump as I've heard it was?
Well, I think it was on Peachtree. I think what it was, it used to be the old Atlanta Channel 17 studios. It's what I think it used to be, and they've done some work, and you had and they were doing game shows there, or some stuff. You would go out, and it was like they would have a middle part where they would put the ring, and then you would have seats on half the side of the building, kind of going down bleacher style. And we would come out through the through the curtain, and the desk, I think, sat on the right, and that's where your announcer was, or the co-host, and it was always well lit, but it was a small studio, and you maybe get 150 people in there, maybe.
Did they have the boo and cheer signs up there, or was that later on?
No, later on.
Okay, a couple more things briefly.
Well, what do you think? They would always cheer me when I went out there. I mean, that goes without saying.
Cheering your mullet. Amazing mullet in the early 90s.
It was. It really was.
Did you get any thrill? Well, apparently not, because it was just a rough time on the road all the time. But did you get any thrill like working with a lot of the younger guys? Because obviously there was a budget cuts like crazy at this time. They fired pretty much everyone who had an expensive contract, and then they brought in tons of young guys to work with, like your Johnny B. Bads and you. I was going to say someone else there, but that'll come up quite soon. But did you enjoy working any of the young guys? Were you a teacher of sorts at this point, or were you just trying to like survive?
I didn't give a fuck if they learned it or not. I mean, I would help them. I wouldn't try to, but hey, I was trying to survive myself. I was afraid of getting hurt is what I was afraid of. Because if we get hurt, I don't know if they would have paid me or not. So, and the guys, they were, some of them greener than grass. I mean, they could do the basics, and that was it. And they had no sense of timing. No sense of when to start a comeback, when to end a comeback, when to miss, when to do this. And basically what they were doing, they were learning on the job, OJT, on OTJ, on the job. Yeah, learning on the job. So, and I hope they learned, because, I wasn't trying to teach. It was just whatever was out there, if you learned it, you learned it. If you want to ask me a question, I'll tell you. But as far as me going out of the way to help them, no, I wasn't that gracious.
Next question. Adam Jackson has asked, can Dutch tell us a little bit more about his time managing Justin Hawk Tui Bradshaw?
Hawk Tui!
Your favourite thing. In the WWF of the mid-90s. Also, I'm still pushing for a Dutch shirt with an image on him and the phrase, the hairiest player in the game. Keep up the fantastic work, gentlemen. Okay, so any more stories about managing Justin Bradshaw? So I think we've talked about why you started managing him, but briefly, you just walked up to him one day and said, hey, do you need a manager?
Well, what had happened, I was managing Ron and Don Harris as the Blue Brothers, Eli and Jacob Blue, a couple of bumbling West Virginia hillbillies who'd never seen a color TV in their life. And I'm thinking, I don't know if this is a good gimmick or not. It turned out to be not a good one. So they got mad off of payoff of, I forgot what it was, some pay-per-view we had done. And they didn't like their payoff. And then they asked me what I made. And I actually made more than they did. Well, Ron said, screw this, I'm out of here. And he left that day. And then he just left me with Donnie. And he made it about a week. Then he was gone. And they didn't tell nobody. They just left. So, and then I'm sitting there with nobody. So I'm sitting there at TV one day, and Bradshaw comes in with his bag and sets it down. We had a couch there, and he set it down on the couch or wherever he set it. And I got to talking to him. He had just come from Germany during that 40-day festival type deal they have over there. I forgot the guy that ran it.
Otto Vance.
Yeah, he ran it. So he was telling me about that. And I said, hey, he was there for a tryout. Is what he was there. I said, hey, what about are you open for a manager? And he said, yeah, whatever. So I suggested it to him. And then I said, how about let me go to the ring with you today? And he said, oh, it's fine with me. And I think Bruce Pritchard came in or somebody, Jerry Briscoe. I said, hey, can I manage Bradshaw today? They said, yeah, do it. So I went out there. And then, see, I'm looking for something to do so they'd keep paying me. So I went out there with him, and I think he was against Savio Vega. I'm pretty sure, Savio Vega. And they had a hell of a match. And then when we went back, they brought in the contract for him to sign. He signed it right there, and they said, yeah, you're his manager now, so keep going. I said, oh, good. So that's how I started with him.
How many weeks were you left without anyone to manage, or was this just Ron and Don leave and then you just pick up Bradshaw right away?
No, a couple of weeks.
And you went to TV and shows and stuff.
I didn't go to shows, but I went to the TV, and I would just sit there and look at them. I don't know, and they'd look at me, and I'd look at them, and and that's what it was. That's why I was looking for somebody to manage, because, hey, that WWE apparatus, the internal, the machinery, it didn't work. It didn't work well. I was there, but I wasn't there at the same time. So,
had you ever met Bradshaw before?
Never met him. Never met the guy in my life.
So then you just start traveling with him straight away then, I guess. Yeah,
as soon as they said I'm going with him, I'll be his manager, because they liked his work. He would go out there. He was very aggressive, big old Texas, like oil worker type guy. That's what they was trying to push him at, and a brawler. And so he was, he just needed somebody to talk for him and help somebody to get him through. Plus, if they put me with him, if they could do something with me later to turn him or to do an angle, and they ended up taking him on his own, which is fine. So my contract ran out and I finished up.
With Bradshaw at the beginning.
But when I finished up, they wanted him to give me that goddamn clothesline from hell. And everybody bitches about it. Oh my God, he kills you. And he hit me with it. Guess what? I didn't even feel it.
We reviewed it because we saw the way he did it. He basically gave you like a shoulder check, and the arm went around you, so he protected you.
No, due to my superior athletic prowess, when he got there, I was gone.
Were there any other creative things for the first year of Bradshaw being in the WWF that was pitched and didn't happen? Because he's sort of just there, really. There's, he's just somewhere in the middle of the card. He was an opening match for pay-per-views, basically. But was there anything else?
Well, they gave him a branding iron. And they put, I guess, JB on it, like Justin Bradshaw. And we would take it and we would put shoe polish on it. And then I would hold it, and then we get the guy down, and then we'd brand him. So, and then they'd sell it like it was hot or something. It didn't make a damn bit of sense, but that's all we do.
Because we've talked about Bradshaw before, where I can't remember if he passed out on a sofa and he challenged a load of college students to a drinking party. But are there any other stories about Bradshaw from the first year that you were managing him that you can
none that I can tell.
No, that's fine then. We shall move on. Jay Kingsley, good morning, afternoon, and/or evening, Dutch and James. I just finished listening to episode 106 of Storytime while Dutch mentioned the ring caving in on the first TNA pay-per-view. He didn't mention that the ring was broken by the sheer weight of one Mike Staples, known as Cheeks, in his sole TNA appearance. on NWA TNA 2, dropping down and sitting on his opponent's chest. My question for Dutch is, do you have any insight at all how Cheeks was discovered by TNA, and who thought, or why it was thought, someone billed at £548 and gets gassed just walking to the ring should be trying to wrestle a standard match? So before we delve deep into Cheeks, why don't we look at that said sit down splash or whatever he does. So 1 sec, I'll cue it up. Okay, sorry I've had to put the overlay on because it's TNA. So here we go, here is Cheeks in action.
You're at ringside with ring announcer Jeremy Borash. Wait a minute, we saw an exchange of money last week between referee Slick Johnson, who's in the ring with Alicia.
Sorry, audio listeners, you've got an enormously fat man.
Oh my God.
Just jiggling around the ring.
That she was collecting for UNICEF last week with Mark Johnson. Big splash.
There we go.
Oh my God. Oh.
Hideous.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think did he weigh 500 pounds?
He looks like
he said he did. Yeah, he's a horrible match. It was on the first night. That was the first TNA match ever, but it wasn't recorded for TV. Thank God. That's the only saving grace for it. He was put out there as a dark match. That's what we called it. But they didn't even make that. So
well, it ended up on NWA pay-per-view too.
It did.
It actually made it onto the pay-per-view on the weekly pay-per-views. Yeah, it made it.
What they usually do, it's usually a dark match. They're checking all the systems. They're checking the camera. They're checking the lights. They're checking the microphones. They're checking the crowd noise. They're checking everything during this match. It's a check match. So that's why it didn't make the pay-per-view, but it didn't make, what was it, Rolling Thunder 2 or 1? Or
well, this guy was Cheeks.
Cheeks.
And CHEEX.
Yes, Cheeks. And I think he was from Virginia. I think that's the only match he ever had in TNA.
Absolutely.
That was enough.
So is that it then? He's just a great big fat guy who.
That's it. He wanted to be a wrestler, and they said, "Okay, come and be on this pay-per-view." I don't know who told him that, but I don't think I would have told him that.
I'm just looking at Reddit here. It says his name is Mike Staples, aka Rolling Thunder. Here's an article about him getting gastric bypass surgery. There are also a couple of pretty terrible YouTube videos of him from 2008. So I don't think he was ever destined for greatness, old Cheeks, then.
No. And I think he was somewhere from Virginia or somewhere, independent guy. It came in and tried his hand. We didn't pick him up. So
who could pick him up at that weight? Lex Luger.
Yeah. No, Lex Luger couldn't. Lex Luger, that was his gimmick. Some guys have laid on him and he struggled. There's a lot of guys thought that was funny. He didn't.
Obviously, you saw Lex Luger get tortured a couple of times then.
Well, we need to watch the match between Bruiser Brody, or have we watched it?
Bruiser Brody versus watched it. No,
Bruiser Brody versus Lex Luger. It was, I think, was it in Florida?
Yeah, Bill Alfonso was refereeing it. Cage match.
Yep, and we haven't watched that, have we?
No, I don't think so.
But I tell you, it ends. I'm going to tell you the finish, people. It ends with Lex Luger climbing over the ring, the cage. It was a cage match, and going to the floor. And I don't even know what the rules were, but the match only went like 5 or 6 minutes. But Brody didn't work with him at all. Well, and threatened. I guess Luger felt that damn Brody was going to beat the crap out of him. I guess, I don't know.
Well, it's probably was it what is it? The better valor, something discretion. Yeah, so, that's it.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, we're going to move on. David from Omaha has said, how did Van Hammer keep a job in WCW for so long? He never improved from 1991 to 2000. Never got better in the ring, never was good at promos. Dutch, you have a brain for the business. You know how to get over and make emotions. He didn't know how to do any of this and stayed employed for years. Okay, so Van Hammer, talk about one of the young guys from WCW who was there as a
he must have known somebody or known something about somebody that they didn't want out. But he stayed around, and he was horrible. He wasn't good at all. And if he hears me saying that, well, it's the truth. And nothing wrong with saying the truth. Good guy, but good guy don't sell tickets. Good guys don't make money sometimes. I'm a good guy. Look at me. I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing this podcast with James. So, but yeah, he just didn't have it at all.
Okay, when someone say he doesn't have it, what exactly does someone, or at least in his case, what did he? I mean, he had the look. We know he had the look. That's obviously why he was hired. A nice hair, tall enough. So, what did he not have? What could he not translate?
Personality, and I don't think he could talk. He couldn't deliver a promo in a form that, sometimes when people talk, you feel something for them. This is still an emotional business. When you see somebody, you have a yes or no button of whether you think this guy's likable or not, automatically. Or like, and I've heard this, a guy walking the ring, I don't like him. I said, how do you know? I just don't like him. For no reason, just as what they felt internally. So I think that he couldn't talk. His in-ring skills weren't good. And I don't know if you could tell a story about him. He's a big guy. How tall was he? 6'5"?
I don't know. Yeah, something like that. He was well built. And everything. I don't think it helped that he had a guitar that he brought to the ring and never played.
That would definitely be a drawback. Now, if he'd have brought it to the ring and sang a song and he had a great voice, now he's developing what they call a character, and that could possibly get him over. But he just brought it to the ring and did nothing with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he might as well have brought a skateboard.
And nobody did anything with the guitar against him, right?
No, not really, no.
So it was just out there. You know who did bring a skateboard to the ring?
Oh, yeah, of course I do. Shane Douglas and Johnny Ace. And they couldn't ride either. So it's just like you're given a prop that you can't use.
Yep. And, I'd like to really hear Shane Douglas's when he talks about WWE. He could talk all day about that bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did him no favors. They just didn't. They brought him in and had an idea for him, but didn't know how to get the idea to work. And I think he gave them some ideas and they didn't like it. So what is the purpose if you give somebody an idea, do this, and then they have an idea for it? Oh, no, keep it the same. Keeping it the same it's not getting over. At least he tried to improve it.
With Shane and I, we've talked about that extensively. There's still a lot of clips out there on the Shane Douglas YouTube channel as well as WSI. There's a great story where he talks about the, I don't know if it's Madison Square Garden. Essentially, he refused to go out on doctor's advice. He's had a horrible back injury, and essentially the doctor had to, and this is a commissioned doctor, and the doctor said if he takes one more bump, he could be risking paralysis. And only then... Sorry, Vince McMahon tried to intimidate the doctor into changing his mind.
Yep.
Anyway, it's one of those things.
So he didn't go that night?
No. You're in the most important match, pal. The first match.
But I'm wondering, did he get paid for that night?
Probably not.
Yeah, WWF, the old group, they made a bunch of mistakes, and if you had a legal counsel to look at their contracts, they were invalid to begin with.
Next question. DJ from Blacksburg in upstate South Carolina. First time emailer, been listening for a few months. Have you ever appeared in Blacksburg?
I know where Blacksburg is. I've been through there.
Okay.
I went through there and robbed a 7-Eleven one time.
Oh, you got away with it.
I did. It was 1994, I think, and just went through there, and something said, "Hey, stop," and robbed the store. I stopped. And
First time emailer, been listening for a few months, almost caught up from beginning now. Dutch commented on Pretty Deadly recently and echoed what I think is the opinion of the vast majority of fans. We don't care. They're good, they're funny, but why would we care? But since they do have something, couldn't a good booker, probably not a writing team, though, make them interesting? Okay, so what's the problem with Pretty Deadly and how can they be improved?
Well, first of all, they go out there, they're like two guys who they don't have much of a body. They have long hair. They look like two guys you would see down at the mall. And I don't know what Pretty Deadly is supposed to be, but apparently they haven't gotten that over into the equation. And they do some cute, funny stuff, I guess, but they still haven't made them into a character enough that make the people want to give a crap about them. So I think they'll just go through this tour unless they find something with them, unless they put them with a team that they can kind of have a match with. And I don't know who that would be, but I think their time in the WWE as productive time, I don't think we'll see that anytime soon, unless somebody just has a tremendous idea about them. I don't know what to do with them. I wouldn't know what to do with them. I would try some, but I would put them with a team that I think that could match them in size, or they're not really big guys anyway. So I think you actually take the tag team division back a step when you put them in the ring. Are you sleepy? Am I boring you?
What, did I yawn?
You were yawning.
I know, no, I don't. I don't always yawn. I'm sorry, I just yawned through that. What can I say? I've had a long day. It's you talking about Pretty Deadly. It's just like the such a boring tag team that I yawned while you just thinking about them.
I think sometimes they give them matches too long. I don't know. You can still do something with them and get interest on them short term, but I don't know what they could do long term with them. I just don't know.
No. Okay.
The first time I thought about them.
Do you think they're going to be picked up for the next contract, or do you think they'll just like be quietly let go? Because I think that's almost what you were getting at one point. You think you're just going to
if they got a 3-year deal, I think the 3 years will be up, and I think, well, we're not going to renew you guys.
Basil has written in and says, "Hi James, I read that Dutch served in the 25th Army Division in Vietnam. That division's Wikipedia page lists country singer George Strait and director Oliver Stone also serving in the 25th during that time. Did he come across either of them during his service? Keep up the great work with the podcast."
Yeah, I used to sing with George Strait down at the PX. I did that. And, Oliver Stone, I gave him some ideas for some of his movies coming up, but I never got quoted. I never got a dime out of it. But no, there was a lot of people in the 25th Infantry Division, and unless he was, I was in the brigade. I wasn't in there. And brigades have battalions, and I guess I don't know, but they had probably 25,000 people there with the 25th. And I never run across them because if George Strait wasn't having a big concert, I wouldn't know he was in town either. And if Oliver Stone, name a movie by Oliver Stone.
JFK.
Did he do one? JFK. I was thinking when he did a Kennedy.
Do you know what, right? I saw a good Oliver Stone film, and I think it was based on a play called Talk Radio. That was good.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I saw that. Talk Radio. I forgot he was in it, but
yeah, it's
a late night radio host, right?
Yeah, and he does like some monologue. I think he must have been in the play first, and that was a good film. I remember, and he does like a 3-minute rambling monologue, like yelling into the microphone, because he's like an early version of a shock jock, I guess.
Well, I used to on long trips when I used to late at night, be summertime. I just rolled the windows down. I turned my AM radio up, and some of those, power stations, They had one out of Atlanta called WSM, I think. And this guy's name was Dave Off the Wall with David Paul. And oh man, you could just imagine by his voice, he was probably a real skinny kid with like horn rim glasses, and people would call up and he wouldn't cuss them out, but he'd insult them. They wanted to kill. He was a heel. And then one of the last nights, and I don't know, I never got a story about this. He said the police were outside trying to get into the studio where he was because they wanted to arrest him for something, and he had locked the door. And that's how they ended the night. They finally got in there and took him out, and then all of a sudden it went dark for a while, no sound, no nothing, and then another show started. And I don't know if that was a shoot or whatever, but it was damn sure interesting. Off the Wall with David Paul.
Just because it was bugging me, I looked it up. Eric Bogosian is the guy. I think he's like a Jewish guy. Actor. I remember him. Alec Baldwin, Ellen Green, Leslie Hope. Just because I know we never talk about the military because it's not something you want to talk about. But did you go to any USO shows, or did they do any morale building shows? Who did you see there? Anyone notable?
I saw Bob Hope,
of course,
and Welch. What's her name?
Oh, Raquel Welch.
Raquel Welch. I saw her.
Did she tell some
but
funny
you go
jokes?
You go to those USO shows, and it's outside and it's hot as hell, and you can't get close, and it's just a stage set up out in the middle of a field, and and Bob Hope, he was telling jokes, so I guess he did like a 10-minute deal, and I don't know what Raquel Welch did. I guess she just come out there and just said hello to everybody. And I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, what's Raquel Welch going to do? Just
it'd be funny if Bob Hope came out in a bikini and Raquel Welch did 20 minutes of jokes.
That would have been good. I would have remembered that. But yeah, that's who I saw. And I think it was Raquel Welch. I may be wrong, but I know it was Bob Hope.
Hey, prime Raquel Welch as well.
Yep. I remembered that. See,
yeah.
You didn't think I'd remember that, did you?
No, I thought you definitely remember that.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping you say Bob Hope as well.
I'll give you the year. 1971.
You did 2 tours, didn't you? Just to clarify.
No.
Oh, did you do one long tour? Or?
One tour and I was out.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Next question. Al Green has... I wonder if it's the Al Green. Anyway, not the singer, but the wrestler Al Green. Mr. Mantell, do you remember and have any stories to tell about Gentleman Saul Weingroff? My favourite team he managed was Mephisto and Dante. We talked about Mephisto, didn't we? The great Mephisto.
Yeah.
And Dante Lorenzo Parenti as Mephisto and the great Bobby Hart as Dante. Dante was unmasked in Chattanooga, me and my reading, Tennessee. Later, he had a heart attack and died in the ring in Texas. I understand. Any memories would be appreciated, sir. So, Saul Weingroff to start with.
Well, I met him once. Is all I met him. And he's always been around Nashville. And he had a son. I forgot his son's name. And tried to wrestle. But I think his son that wrestled he's blind, I think. See if I'm right.
I'm looking up his son. George?
No, Joey. Was it Joey?
I've got George Weingroff here, son of legend. Yeah, no, It was George.
George Weingroff. Yep, that's him. And was he blind?
One sec. George blind. Hang on. Scintillating audio. I know this.
Yes.
George Weingroff was legally blind and was an amateur and collegiate champion. A good pro performer.
Amateur. Yeah.
There you go.
A good amateur. He couldn't see the other side of the ring. He could see, but it was so, he told me, he said, it's so blurry. I can't really tell what it is. He said, if I see a guy over there, yeah, I know it's a guy. But what he did, he ended up getting into the buying Coke machines, and when you put money in, you get
Like
it
the
out.
vending machines, yeah.
A vending machine. And I think he got in that business, and I think it did pretty well for him.
I'm just looking at him. He looks quite cross-eyed as well in the photo I'm looking at him. Yeah. So,
yeah, he had vision problems.
Yeah.
Bad.
So, do you know what caused them?
I think he was born that way.
Yeah. So, Saul Weingroff, how big of a deal was he, and what area was he a big deal in?
Down south, usually. Tennessee mostly. And I don't know where else he worked. I think he probably worked in the Carolinas. Probably did that. Maybe some down in Alabama, maybe Florida. And I think that was it.
Yeah, I'm looking at a photo of him with the von Brauners, in fact.
Germans.
Now,
see, this was following, the war hadn't been over. The war had been over probably 20 years, but a lot of people who fought in that war, they were still active a lot. So he had that natural built-in heat. So when he would walk out there and he'd talk about the Fuhrer and, and the Sieg Heil and all, you could do that stuff then. You can't do it now.
I was going to say, the last person to do it was Bradshaw, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, Bradshaw, and I almost got us run out of Germany.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, he did that in like 2005 or 2000, something in the mid-2000s, and that got him in trouble.
Well, when we went over there, I guess it was when I was with him in the early 90s, probably
96. You were managing him there.
And he went to walk down the apron of the ring and went, "See-hoo!" And he put his hand up and took that damn German step. And he come back and they said, "You can't do that here." Because he said, "Why?" He says, "I did it." He said, "Yeah, they can deport you immediately, but by doing that." And he said, "Well, I didn't know. It's done now." And he didn't give a crap. He didn't give a crap to send him home. That's why he did it.
Anything else you can add with, because we talked about Mephisto before, Dante Lorenzo Parenti. I don't know anything about this fella. Any memories?
Nope, no memories at all.
No. Okay then. Well, we'll stick with with George Weingroff and the blind wrestler then. So that was at least interesting. I had no idea he existed. So next question, Michael Mann. Hello, James and Dutch. Was it ever pitched for Dutch to be a manager or commentator while he was in TNA? Great show. Thank you.
Well, I didn't want to be a manager to start off with. That means I would have to actually go out and do something. No, my job is trying to come up with ideas for other guys. And I would have entertained the idea of being a commentator because I think I would have helped quite a lot there. Don West was there. And somewhere along the way, Dixie Carter fell out with Don. Now, Don used to do, he was a, what they call
he was a pitch man, wasn't he?
He was a pitch man for
Home Shopping Network.
Right. Home Shopping. That's exactly what it was. Home Shopping Network. And where he would say, "Hey, you got to get it here and do it," and blah, blah. And then, but she wanted to get rid of him and hire Taz. But she eventually did that. And I says, "Listen, why don't," and I didn't tell Don. Don's passed away now. But I didn't tell Don, but I said, "Why don't you hook me up with Don during the broadcast and let me just feed him some stuff without telling him?" Because I think he would have taken that as a as a disrespectful move. And I said, "Hey, Don, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to be listening to you, and I'll feed you some stuff. You can use it or not use it." But I said, "Just slow down a little bit, and we'll see how this does." So we started. The first week went great. Second week went great. And up to the time they let him go, he was doing great. Even Dixie brought it to me. She says, he's really funny. Now, he was funny anyway, but if he would take his time with some of this stuff, he would be even funnier. So when I would feed him these lines, and I forgot what I fed him, some stupid crap, but it sounds like something that he would say. And then they ended up letting him go. And then they brought in Taz. So why they did that, I don't know. I really don't. Unless they just paid Taz less, may have paid him more. I don't know.
Who's an ex-WWE guy, so I imagine Dixie paid him tons.
Well, I don't think he would have come for less than Don was making, because Don was living there. So, and I don't think people watched the show, or didn't watch it then, for the color man. I really don't. A color man can really help a show, but I don't think they watch it unless he's actively involved in something just for him. So Lawler was very good as a color man. Heenan was very good as the color man. Jesse Ventura, great as the color guys, because they would add the details of what the main announcer didn't put in there. But Don, he ended up, I tried to help him, but it didn't work. And from that time on, I don't think Don ever, well, he was done with TNA, but he left with a bad taste in his mouth.
Mm. I know they shunted him down to basically doing pitchman stuff for like TNA merchandise as well, which at the time, some of their merch was horrendous that they were trying to get out there as well. So I don't think they sold much.
He was what?
Horrendous.
It wasn't that good.
No. So, do you think the fallout, I mean, was there actually a fallout with Don and Dixie, or was it just she was enamored with a WWE guy coming in, or actually there was some issue between the two?
No, I think what happened, that Taz, I think he contacted Dixie, made his availability known. Now, the only place they can use him is on the show. And they wasn't going to go to a 3-man booth, because that means just paying an extra guy. So they just put him in Don's spot, which I don't think, I didn't like it. Jeff didn't like it. Vince Russo, he didn't like it, because, after we'd worked with Don for those number of years, he was like a friend. So, and to have a friend lose a job, we didn't like it. So, but that's what happened.
Yeah, for someone who had never done it before as well. I mean, obviously, he'd never done commentary before. I don't think he'd ever done sports commentary before. But for what he lacked, he made up for us in enthusiasm. He was really good.
No, I think Vince heard him on that home shopping channel, and Vince loved him. And he said, let's bring him in. And he'd never done it before. And nobody was trying to teach him either till I got there. But when I got there, it was almost too late. But I had offered to help him before, and he kind of turned it down. I said, okay. And till the times kind of got like, it's either going to be you or Taz. So here's your chance to set your mark. Yeah, but I don't think he even knew that. I think he got wind of it later, and then he became more receptive to me helping him. But Don West, great guy. Great guy. I loved him.
Very briefly, did you ever appear on screen for TNA?
One time I did, but it was back when it became Impact. It was in like 2017.
Oh, so never in the original run, though?
No.
Okay, we've got time.
Maybe I did.
I'll tell you what, 'cause I've never seen you on TNA, so internet sleuth out there, I would like you to write in questionsfordutch@gmail.com, and if you can find anything, backstage thing or anything where Dutch appears on the main show, or, Explosion or Impact or whatever, then write in, because I'd be interested to know. Right, we have time for, we've only got 2 more questions, so if the first one doesn't work out, we've got one more back.
I appeared in 100 episodes of Smoky Mountain.
You did that as well?
100 episodes.
Yeah,
103, I think.
That doesn't require internet sleuthing, though. You can just pick one and you'll find you.
Yeah.
With the sign asking if Bob Caudle's hair's real. Right, we're going to move on. Moose says, being a Fremont, Ohio native and home to Dr. Bill Miller and his brother Danny Miller, I wanted to know if Dutch ever got to work with either one, and if so, if he could share any stories he may have.
Never met those guys. See, because there wasn't a lot of crossover with anybody north of the Mason-Dixon line down south. But I knew who they were. They worked mostly out of Indianapolis, Indiana area, and for the Sheik up in Michigan, Detroit, and they worked Chicago area, and maybe Kansas City. And it's funny how, the Southern guys try to stay south and the Northern guys stay north. I guess they're just used to that. But I never met those guys.
Final question, and we're closing out on this one. Tim from Andalusia, Alabama, easy for me to say, named after the Spanish area, I guess. Dear James and Dutch, loved the show. Once Ronnie Garvin is said to have thrown a Knoxville title belt off of a bridge. I've read that Mr. Dutch also threw an Alabama belt over a bridge in Alabama. Is there any truth to that story?
An Alabama belt off the bridge in Alabama. Well, I may have, but I don't remember it. I remember throwing a belt off a bridge in Puerto Rico, but I don't remember. I did an interview one time in Alabama, and I'll send it to you, where I call the people like dirty, greasy, slimy creatures. And it reminded me of, just what Alabama was like. I'll send you that. But boy, did I get heat off that interview. It's like, I forgot what I was talking about now. But if I was talking about the fans, oh man, I got a lot of heat off that one.
Off that, I mean, to be honest, it was a bit of a bust of an answer, I guess. Did you ever win? Weren't you the TV title holder or whatever it was? But it was like a medal in Mid-South. Did you have like the TV title medal at one point?
The medal. What a bunch of cheap bastards. Yeah. It was like this big.
Yeah. That went off the bridge once, I believe.
Oh, I don't know. That Louisiana was a trip too. Brother, you in Louisiana, you're in the swamps. You're literally in the swamps. The road sits about this high off the swamps. And if you go off, you're in the swamp. And you don't know what's there. If an alligator's there, a snake is there, anything can be there. And
they didn't have TV title belt medal might be in there.
It could be. And the roads in Louisiana were like a lot of 2 lanes. They had one interstate running through it, and I think that was Interstate 10, maybe. And it ran through there. And everybody, and they must be some really crappy drivers, because every other car in Louisiana had one headlight. And I don't know why they all had one headlight. And I asked a guy one time, I said, why is most of the cars here, they just got one headlight? He says, are you stupid? No. He said, because the roads they have a lot of rocks in the road, and the rocks come up and they hit the lights, and then they knock one light out. And you could travel those roads. I have on one of those late night trips, you're on those 2 lanes, brother. I went into I went into a frenzy, because I thought that a car had stopped right in front of me, a car full of cows for some reason. And I slammed the brakes on, which woke me up, but there was no truck there. I just envisioned a truck and I was going to hit it.
It's highway hypnosis.
And yeah, well, but it did wake me up. It woke me up. It shook me so badly. I was awake the rest of the trip home. So, I mean, you do some ungodly miles in Oklahoma. And would I do it again? No, ever. I wouldn't do it.
Rightly so as well. On that note, we're going to close up this podcast. So everybody, thank you very much for watching. We will catch you again on Friday for Storytime with Dutch Mantell, episode 108, and whatever we're going to be talking about then, because the news hasn't happened yet. And once again, questionsfordutch@gmail.com. We get so many dozens every single week, and we appreciate you for it. And hopefully that will long continue. So best ones make it into the script every week. It might be you next week. Who knows? But for now, Dutch, we're the people.
We're the people. See you then.